Let me tell you something most people will never say out loud. Being good in bed, that's common, but being unforgettable, it's not about the positions, the tricks, or the performance. It's about something deeper, something you can't fake. Something that makes a man lie awake at night, replaying the way you made him feel. So if you've ever wondered, what actually leaves a mark on someone's heart? What makes you not just desirable, but unforgettable? Stay with me, because once you understand this, you'll never see intimacy the same way again. Let's be honest, when people talk about being unforgettable in bed, the conversation almost always leans toward technique. What positions, what moves, what tricks make someone stand out? But that's surface level thinking. Technique alone might create excitement, sure. It might leave someone impressed for a moment. But being unforgettable, that's an entirely different league. What truly makes someone unforgettable in bed isn't just what's happening physically, it's what's happening emotionally. It's the connection that's formed beneath the surface when two people stop performing and start feeling. There's a huge difference between being touched and feeling desired, between being kissed and feeling chosen. The woman who becomes unforgettable is the one who brings emotional energy into the moment. She's not just present physically, she's present emotionally. Her energy says, I'm here with you, not just going through the motions. It's in the way she looks at him, the way she listens to his breath, the way she responds with more than her body, with her heart, her curiosity, her enthusiasm. That's the stuff that stays with someone long after the lights are out. Because here's the truth, most people are starving for real connection. In a world obsessed with appearances and performance, someone who slows down enough to actually connect stands out like a lighthouse in a storm. And when that connection happens in the most intimate of moments, that becomes unforgettable. She's not rushing, she's not trying to prove anything. She's creating an experience that feels personal and real. And that kind of intimacy, where someone feels genuinely seen, it doesn't fade from memory. It's in the little things. The way she touches his face like it means something. The way she smiles in the middle of a kiss because she's fully in it, not holding back. The way she's not afraid to pause, look into his eyes and just be there, completely present. That kind of energy is rare. It's vulnerable. It's powerful. And it's a reason why someone can be with people who are technically great in bed and still never forget the one who made them feel something deeper. Because the truth is, physical pleasure fades, but emotional impact lingers. Most men won't remember the exact sequence of physical events, but they'll remember how they felt with her. They'll remember how safe it was to be open, how electric her presence was, how her energy made them feel like the only person in the world. That's what people crave, whether they admit it or not. And the beauty of this is it's not about perfection. It's not about being a certain shape, size, or age. It's not about being a master of seduction or knowing every move. It's about connection. That's something anyone can cultivate. It just takes self-awareness, presence, and the willingness to let go of the mask and be real, to let go of the script and actually tune into the moment. The unforgettable woman isn't trying to impress. She's inviting the other person to experience something meaningful with her. And that emotional imprint, that's what no one forgets. Confidence. It's one of those words that gets thrown around so much. It's easy to forget what it actually means. Some people confuse it with arrogance. Others think it's about being loud, bold, or always taking the lead. But real, authentic confidence, the kind that makes a woman unforgettable in bed, is so much quieter. It's not showy. It doesn't need to be. Because it's not about dominating the moment. It's about owning it. Not from a place of ego, but from a place of self-trust. When a woman walks into a moment with the kind of quiet, grounded confidence that says, I know who I am, everything changes. She doesn't need permission to enjoy herself. She doesn't second guess her every move. She's not seeking validation. She's fully tuned into her body, her energy, her presence, and that kind of energy, it's magnetic. It draws someone in without even trying. It's the difference between someone who's performing and someone who's just being. The woman who's performing is stuck in her head. She's thinking, do I look good? Am I doing this right? Is he enjoying this? And all of that noise disconnects her from the moment. But the woman who's confident in herself, she's not thinking about how she looks in the moment. She's focused on how she feels. She gives herself permission to enjoy it. And that kind of authenticity is irresistible. Because here's what most people won't say out loud. Insecurity is contagious. If someone is tense, self-conscious, or apologetic about their body or their needs, the other person can feel it, even if it's unspoken. But the same goes for confidence. When she moves with self-assurance, when she doesn't flinch at being seen, when she laughs without holding back, it gives the other person permission to do the same. It creates a space where both people can breathe. Be real, let go. And what makes it so unforgettable is that it feels rare. So many people are afraid to be fully themselves in intimate moments. They're too busy measuring, adjusting, hiding. But the confident woman isn't trying to be perfect. She's just grounded in who she is. That might mean initiating when she wants to, saying what she likes without hesitation, or simply being completely present and relaxed without worrying about being judged. That kind of ease, that kind of ownership, it leaves an impression that lasts. She doesn't need to be the loudest voice in the room. She doesn't need to make dramatic gestures or have all the answers. Her power comes from a calm place, from knowing that her presence alone is enough. And that changes everything, because when a man is with a woman who's confident in herself, he doesn't feel like he's being evaluated or tested. He feels accepted, invited. He lets his guard down without even realizing it. And when two people both show up without armor, that's when the unforgettable moments happen. It's not about being fearless. It's about feeling the fear and still choosing to show up as yourself. That's what authentic confidence is. And when a woman brings that energy into a space as intimate as the bedroom, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she followed a script or played a role, but because she was unapologetically, confidently herself. There's a kind of power most people overlook. It doesn't come from being in control or having all the answers. It comes from being willing to let your guard down, to stop hiding, to be seen exactly as you are. That power is vulnerability. And in the bedroom, it's the difference between an experience that's good and one that's unforgettable. Because here's the truth. Real intimacy doesn't come from doing everything right. It comes from two people feeling safe enough to let go of who they think they're supposed to be and just show up as they really are. It's in those unscripted moments, the laugh when something awkward happens, the quiet sigh when the world melts away, the hesitation that turns into trust, the look that says, I'm here, I'm not hiding. That's the kind of moment that gets imprinted in someone's memory for life. Vulnerability isn't about weakness, it's about courage. It's about saying, this is me. All of me. It's when a woman doesn't feel the need to perform or perfect. She lets her emotions show. She lets herself feel everything. Pleasure, nervousness, excitement, desire, without filtering it. And that rawness, that honesty, that's what people remember. Because most people are used to masks. They're used to layers. They're used to performance. But when someone shows up real, without the armor, it hits different. It feels different. And what's wild is, it doesn't take a grand gesture. It's in the soft stuff. The way she reaches out to hold a hand when things get quiet. The way her voice shakes slightly when she says what she wants. The way she opens up about what feels good or even what doesn't, with honesty instead of apology. That kind of openness creates a current between two people that's more powerful than anything physical. A woman who isn't afraid to be vulnerable creates a space where connection can go deeper, because the truth is, everyone wants to feel accepted, everyone wants to feel safe, and when she shows up without walls, she makes it easier for him to do the same. Suddenly, it's not about trying to impress each other, it's about exploring each other, trusting each other, discovering something together without pressure or performance. And it's in those moments where she lets the real her show that the bond becomes unforgettable, because it's not about flawless moves or expert level confidence, it's about being real. That kind of experience isn't something you compare, it's not something you forget, because it made you feel. And long after the moment is over, what lingers is how she made you feel, not just in your body, but in your heart. Think about it. Most people are trained to hide what's real, to stay in control, to keep it cool. So when a woman is brave enough to drop the act and just be in the moment, it's not just rare, it's disarming, it's beautiful, it's unforgettable. That's the kind of vulnerability that leaves a mark. That's what creates intimacy that doesn't fade with time. There's a subtle but powerful shift that happens when a woman moves from performing to experiencing. And it's a shift most people never make, because they're too caught up in what they think intimacy is supposed to look like. They're trying to meet expectations, trying to impress, trying to be good at it. But being unforgettable, that doesn't come from looking perfect or acting flawless. It comes from being fully in it, present, connected, engaged with every part of the moment, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, energetically. You can feel it immediately when someone is performing. They're following a mental checklist. They're watching themselves from the outside. They're focused on the reaction instead of the connection. And even if the moment looks exciting, it feels distant. Because when someone's not really there, you feel the disconnect, even if you don't know how to name it. But when she's truly in it for the experience, everything changes. She's not rushing. She's not calculating. She's tuned in to her own body, to the other person, to the energy in the room. She's not thinking about whether she's doing it right. She's just feeling. And that presence, that natural flow, that's what draws someone in. That's what makes time slow down. That's what burns into memory. There's something incredibly attractive about a woman who's not trying to control the moment, but is willing to surrender to it, not in a passive way, but in an emotionally open, sensual, grounded way. She trusts herself enough to let go. She's not chasing approval, she's chasing depth, and she brings the other person into that space with her. She moans, not because it's expected, but because she actually feels it. She moves not because she practiced it, but because her body wants to. Her eyes close, her breathing shifts, her hands explore, not to impress, but to experience. And that authenticity is impossible to fake. It's magnetic, because the person she's with doesn't feel like they're being judged or evaluated. They feel like they're being invited into something real, something unscripted, something that exists only between them. That's the kind of presence that people remember, because it's so rare. We live in a world of filters and edits, even in the bedroom. But the unforgettable woman, she lets that go. She's not trying to create the perfect moment. She's letting the moment create itself. And that freedom, that spontaneity, that deep emotional and physical presence, it makes her stand out without trying to. She's not worried about whether she looks sexy in a certain angle. She's not analyzing every move. She's too busy feeling to be self-conscious. And ironically, that's what makes her sexier than any magazine cover or movie scene ever could. It's because she's real. She's in it. And when someone feels like they've shared something honest, unfiltered, and alive with her, that moment becomes unforgettable. Not because it was perfect, but because it was real. There's something people rarely talk about when it comes to intimacy, and yet it's often the part that lingers the longest. It's what happens after the high, after the closeness, after the bodies have settled. That quiet space that follows the intensity. And the truth is, how a woman shows up in that moment often decides whether she's remembered or never truly felt at all. See, during intimacy, people are wide open, not just physically, but emotionally. Their guard comes down, their nervous system softens, they let themselves be seen, and in that raw, post-connection space, they're sensitive to everything. A careless gesture, a sudden withdrawal, a shift in tone, it doesn't just go unnoticed, it stings. But the opposite is also true. A soft touch, a knowing glance, a gentle voice that says, "I'm still here with you." That's what turns a good moment into an unforgettable one. Emotional aftercare isn't about babying someone or being overly sentimental. It's about staying present. It's about understanding that the emotional connection doesn't end when the physical part does. It's about saying, "I didn't just want your body, I wanted you." And that presence, that continuation of care, it hits in a way that words can't touch. Maybe it's the way she lingers instead of pulling away. Maybe it's how she softly kisses his chest, rests her head against him, and just breathes together for a while. Maybe it's a quiet laugh, a shared smile, a question like, "Are you okay?" that carries more intimacy than anything that came before it. Whatever it is, it's rooted in attention, in presence, in emotional intelligence. And here's the thing, most people don't realize how much this matters. They think the physical peak is the end of the story, but anyone who's ever had a truly meaningful experience knows that's just the beginning of the imprint. What stays with you is how you are held afterward, not just physically, but emotionally. And when a woman knows how to stay present in that space, when she doesn't emotionally disappear the moment it's over, that memory becomes permanent. It tells a man something rare. It tells him, you weren't just a moment of pleasure. You were a human being I wanted to connect with. That's powerful, because most people are so used to being reduced to a role, a body, a moment. But when someone treats the afterglow as sacred, as something worth protecting, that's the part that truly touches the heart. It doesn't take big words or grand gestures, just consistency, warmth, eye contact, a shared laugh, a simple gesture like brushing hair away from a face, or whispering something soft and real, something true. That's what deepens the emotional bond. That's what makes him wake up the next morning still thinking about her, not just because of what she did, but because of how she stayed. Emotional aftercare is what turns a physical experience into an emotional memory. And those memories, they last, they echo, they define what unforgettable really means. There's a quiet kind of magic in the way an unforgettable woman makes intimacy feel like a shared experience, not a performance, not a transaction, not a giving to get kind of moment, but something that's mutual, something that flows both ways, physically, emotionally, energetically. And it's in that mutuality where connection becomes unforgettable. You see, too many people enter the bedroom with a script. Do this, say that, be sexy, be good, please him, take control, submit. But when you strip away all the noise, the most powerful magnetic energy comes from one thing. I see you, you see me. Let's create something together. That energy doesn't just spark attraction, it creates trust. It creates a memory that stays long after the night is over. The unforgettable woman, she's not there to just give. And she's not there to just receive either. She's tuned in. She knows what she wants, and she's not afraid to express it. But she also wants to know what he wants, what he feels. She's curious, responsive, generous, but she never loses herself in the process. And that balance, that ability to give while staying deeply connected to her own experience, that's rare, that's powerful. She's not keeping score, she's not trying to earn love with effort. She's sharing herself, exploring, receiving with the same energy she gives. It's in the way she listens with her body, in the way she pays attention to his responses, not to manipulate, but to connect. She wants him to feel safe, not just turned on. She wants him to feel seen, not just desired. That kind of emotional generosity sticks with a man, because most people only know what it's like to be used or entertained, but to be truly considered, to be felt, that changes everything. Maybe she asks what he likes, but not out of insecurity, out of curiosity. Maybe she guides his hands to where she wants them, but in a way that invites, not demands. Maybe she says yes to something new, not to impress him, but because she trusts the moment. That spirit of co-creation, that turns chemistry into connection. It's not about control, it's about communion. And what makes this unforgettable is how rare it is. So many people either lose themselves in pleasing the other person or focus only on their own needs. But when someone strikes the balance, when they're generous without performing and expressive without being selfish, it sends a message. We're in this together. That message builds intimacy faster than anything else, and it turns a night into a chapter, something that sticks in someone's soul. He doesn't leave that moment thinking she was amazing because of what she did. He leaves thinking she was amazing because of what we shared. And that feeling, that deep, mutual, emotionally alive moment, that's not something he'll find easily again. That's not something you forget. Because when it's mutual, when it's real, when it's emotionally intelligent and present, it doesn't just light up the body, it anchors into the heart. At the end of the day, what makes a woman unforgettable in bed has so little to do with technique and everything to do with presence, with how deeply she knows herself and how freely she's willing to be seen. It's not about being wild or perfect or knowing all the right moves. It's about who she is in that moment, the energy she brings, the emotion she allows, the experience she creates, not just for him. She's confident, not because she's flawless, but because she's comfortable in her own skin. She's vulnerable, not to be dramatic, but because she's brave enough to be real. She's present, not to impress, but to feel every second of the connection. And when it's over, she doesn't disappear, she stays. Emotionally, energetically, humanly. That's what lingers. That's what sticks. Because she's not trying to be unforgettable. She simply is, through her honesty, through her care, through her willingness to give, to receive, to be fully alive in the moment. She turns intimacy into art, not with performance, but with presence. And that kind of woman, you don't forget her, not because of what she did, but because of how she made you feel. That's the truth. The real power isn't in how you move. It's in how deeply you're willing to connect. And when a woman understands that, she becomes unforgettable. not just in bed, but in life.